Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be working on building a large walk-through trellis for our garden. This is going to be an arched trellis specifically used for pumpkins and squash in our garden, but you really could use this for any type of plant that grows like a vine or can climb. You can just drape it over top of this trellis and let it grow. So all the fruit will just dangle inside of the trellis as you walk through. You can see everything, you can pick it from inside, really easy to access everything, and it keeps the fruit up off of the ground, away from bugs, and hopefully keeping it from rotting or getting too wet. This is a fairly simple construction, and I built 3 of these sections in just one day fairly easily. I'm using T-posts to hold the trellises in place, then I'm using cattle panels to create that trellis and the arch, and I'm using fencing wire to tie it all together. I'll go through a quick video on how I constructed this and show you guys the entire process, but I also have some build plans that I put together. If you guys are interested, go check out my page. I'll leave the link right here on the screen. I built a build plan for each of these with easy step-by-step processes on how to make this, as well as a cut list and material list and tool list, everything you'll need to build one of these trellises. If you're interested, go check that out. If you end up purchasing it, I'd love to know what you guys think of the build plan, if it was helpful, or if there's anything you would add or take away from those build plans. Now I'll get back into the project. I'm going to be putting in the second set of T-posts in to hold the other end of this cattle panel. I'm going to be connecting 3 of these cattle panels to create one solid trellis, and I'm going to be making 3 of those sections down through this row. Next, I'm going to bring in the second cattle panel, and I'm going to be wiring these 2 panels together where they meet, and then up against the post they'll be tied to that as well. I'll also wrap around the top of the arch, put in a few wires to hold everything together. This will help support each other. If one is holding all the weight, the others are tied to it and will help support that weight as well. Now, I have seen some people use zip ties to hold everything together with this style of trellis. That is an option, but I wanted to go for a more permanent solution. Zip ties can eventually break down from the sun shining on them. It dries it out and becomes brittle, and I just don't want that to happen with this. I don't have to replace it after a year or 2, so I'm just using some galvanized fencing wire. This is going to last as long as I want it to. It's going to be here until I'm ready to take it apart and move it somewhere else. So this is a good permanent solution that you don't have to worry about. If you don't yet have a T-post driver and you use T-posts regularly, I would definitely recommend getting one of these. Even for this size of project, it makes it so much easier and safer to hammer in these T-posts instead of using a sledgehammer. So I would definitely recommend getting one of those. So I'm just about finished with this first trellis. I need to put 2 more T-posts in on the end and finish wiring these 2 cattle panels together, and then I'm going to move on to the other 2 sections of trellis that I'm building. So here's the first trellis. This is what the build plan is for, just a 3-section trellis, but you can expand this however long you want, or just do a single panel to make a short trellis. Works really well. I can make the entire row all cattle panels, but I want to have some aisles to where you can get in and out of the trellis. So I'm going to spread it apart and leave 1 cattle panel missing in between each of these, and I'll have 3 sections. That's the second section done, one more to go.
Go inside, everybody.
So a trick that I noticed is bending the wire in this shape. It holds onto the back of the T-post a lot better and stays in place, and it's easier to tighten down because it doesn't have to bend as much wire to fit that T-post as you're tightening it down. To bend the wire, you can use fencing pliers. If you don't have those, lineman's pliers work great. I'm using a large pair of those, and it cuts and bends the wires really well. Alright guys, that just about finishes up the trellis build. I'm going to show you in just a minute what this looks like once the pumpkins start growing up the sides of the trellis. I will say you do have to train cucumber, squash, pumpkins a little bit as they go up trellises. They tend to fall down once they grow up too much, so if you just wrap it around the trellis as it's going up, it holds on really well and trains it to stay up there. Alright, so this is a few weeks later. We've had some time to plant the pumpkins and they've grown quite a bit. We can even see some of the squash and pumpkins starting to grow, so we're really excited to see how this does this year. As pumpkins and squash grow larger, you might want to end up putting some support underneath them and hang them with a net or something from the trellis to make sure they don't rip off of the vine as they get too heavy. We're thinking that this is going to do really well, especially with all the extra sunlight and airflow that the fruit and the leaves are getting, but we'll have to give you an update in a bit to show you how this does at the end of the season. But this is all working great so far. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, hit that like button down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And if you're interested in build plans, I'll leave the link down in the description below, and you guys can go check that out. Thanks guys, I'll see you in the next one.